Towing is a career full of different situations, from vehicles missing a wheel to having none at all. A great operator learns to use all the tools in both his physical and mental toolbox. I'm here today to tell you about a new tool for your physical toolbox, the back pull hitch. I'll be the first to tell you I had my doubts that I personally aired on this podcast. But the fine folks over at Back Pull Hitch sent me a product to test and to use, and boy was I surprised. From the quality of the build and how easy it was to use, I was surprised. And it made me eat my words real fast. So if you're a doubter like me, head on over to backpullhitches.com. That's BAKPUL hitches.com and add another valuable tool to your toolbox. You won't regret it.
Most of the stuff we talk about on this show isn't fully appropriate.
I beg to differ. For the most part, we keep things very PG.
Other than the language.
Okay, but that's only sometimes. And that's a lot of times because we get heated and angry. Well, let's correct that. I get heated and angry.
There you go.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Here we go. Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former coworker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy. No one else's opinion matters.
That is right. Nobody else's. What is going on, G? What is going on?
This show is going to be chock full of those sound bites, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
I feel wonderful about it. I am glad that you had the braveness to come out and say that nobody else's opinion matters other than the man with very strong opinions. So for that, I thank you.
I didn't say the latter part. I never once said the latter part.
Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Towing Life Podcast. I'm so sad that I missed all of you guys last week. As I'm sure G clipped together in the pre-intro, you know that I was sick. I wasn't feeling good. He did a hell of a job putting together all the footage that we had from the tow show. Not all the footage, most of the footage, I guess. There is still a couple hidden things he hasn't told me about. I haven't seen yet. Maybe there isn't. I don't listen to the full episodes, as you guys know, to be able to confirm nor deny that. So it is a good time before we get into anything today to remind you, if you have any questions, comments, concerns for the show, how to find us. It's easy. Head over to www.towinglife.ca. You will find everything there. All the information, all the episodes. Our social media thread feed is on there as well. Everything is convenient and in one spot. If you prefer, you can always email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com or find us on Facebook and send us a message at the Towing Life Podcast. We always love hearing from you guys. We've had some great comments, whether it be through the YouTube, which is another way, as I forget. If you are watching right now, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and you can leave a comment right down below. If you don't like the video, be sure to hit the thumbs down twice. It really lets YouTube know how you feel about our show and passes on the negativity towards us, so we appreciate that. That being said, G, I actually had somebody I know ask me, it's like, I probably should be tech savvy enough to know this, but what happens when you double click the thumbs down on YouTube?
You don't know.
He didn't know. I knew.
Oh.
I knew. I knew 100% why we tell people to do that. He did not, which I got quite the kick out of. And I mean, this isn't some I'm not going to pick an age of a gentleman that would be too old to understand it. No. But let's just say it wasn't one of our older listeners. It was one of our about my age listeners. So for you, sir, and I hope you're listening, I rather did enjoy that. And thank you for the kind words and the good laugh, I guess.
And it doesn't even really matter. You can click it the once, you can click it twice. If you click it twice, it looks better on our end. If you click it once, it actually helps us out even more on the YouTube side of things. So it doesn't really matter. Click it as many times as you want.
The thumbs down? Yeah, it does matter.
It doesn't.
If they click it down, it unclicks it.
regardless if it's an up or a down, it's another interaction that YouTube monitors, and they will say, "Hey, it's an interaction." They'll push it to more people.
Ooh, like it makes us trending because so many people hate us. If
Yeah.
they like 100 people click the thumbs down.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, then I don't give a shit. Click whatever you guys want, and thank you for listening. I'm learning something new today, guys. It happens quite often, but it's going to happen even more today, apparently.
Yeah.
So, gee, I want to talk about. I was scrolling through some articles. I was hearing some things. I love to read up on the news. I love to go into my Google News and click on tow trucks. Type it in the search, see what kind of stories come up. One story that came up had nothing to do with tow trucks, but was a very important one, I think, for the industry in Canada. I can't speak for the States. I actually did look this up a little bit on the state side when I had some time. So Canadian businesses are able to pass on new credit card surcharges to their customers starting today. Now, starting today means last week, but you get the gist of it. So what happens is, and I'm sure most of you guys know, even as operators, you tend to know this. Whenever a customer pays by a credit card, the company is actually charged a surcharge. Now, this can be anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5%. It's normally right about the 3% mark for a bill. So meaning if you run a payment for $100, the credit card company is going to take $3 of that fee off on your statement at the end of the month. So these costs can kind of add up over time, right? Like we're not just talking like $100 tow, $3 isn't going to break the bank. But when you start adding that up over 10, 20, 30, 40, up to $50,000 a month, whatever it is that you're doing for volume, at the end of the day, it's a percentage. So regardless of the volume, that can be big charges coming back to you. That is coming directly out of your profit. So Canada, for the first time, has allowed businesses to actually add that surcharge on to their invoicing. I think this is important, and I'm really wondering how it will affect the towing industry. So a report from CFIB this week found 19% of small businesses are considering the surcharge to offset pricing fees, while 26% say they will use it if their competitors or suppliers do. So this has kind of become a game of if they do it, we'll do it. And God, guys, do we see this in the towing industry nonstop, right? Where, well, I'm not going to start charging for dollies or skates because my competitor doesn't do it. This is where I wish everyone would get on the same goddamn page. So we have lost G. Surprise, surprise. Internet in his small ass little town never seems to be able to stand up. So hopefully he'll rejoin us soon. The surcharge option will not be available in Quebec due to the province's consumer protection laws. As usual, Quebec, the low man out, tends to do whatever they want, however they want. So in this case here, Quebec will not be allowed to, but companies can. So what are the pros and cons as a towing company of charging this 3% credit card fee, right? Is there ways to do it? Should you only charge it maybe on your accounts, not on your retails? There's got to be a fine balance of how to manage this and be, it's going to piss off consumers. Anytime there's fees, I'm a big believer. I hate it. I stayed at a hotel recently while on a towing road trip. And, I go into the hotel, the room rate was whatever it was, $120, $130 for the night. Cool. I check out. I always do the express checkout. They send me the invoice in an email. Makes it easier to send it off to my accounting department. Everything's good. I look at this bill when I receive it in email. Set rate, $120 a night, $130 a night. Taxes, 13% in Ontario. Cool. That's expected. There was like a 5%, I don't even know what tax added on, and this other fee. There was multiple fees added on to this bill. And there's nothing worse that I hate being a consumer than going, we agreed to a price. I expect taxes to be added. That is a given. But then there's this fee, and this fee. So keeping that in mind, when it comes to being a towing company charging these fees, it can be very hard to, explain that to your customer. Your customer isn't going to be happy with it. Is there easier ways, instead of adding a 3% credit card processing fee onto your invoice, by simply maybe increasing your rates by 3% to offset that and offering a discount if they pay by cash, if they pay. I know there's still fees on debit cards. Debit card is normally a much lower fee. It's not about 3%. It's normally a set fee per transaction. Normally equates to about 1% or about $1 a transaction, I think is what it comes up to.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on who your vendor is, right? These rates vary. But it's something that, like I said, as a consumer, I don't want to see extra shit added onto my bill. I mean, if you're straightforward with it from the beginning, it's a little easier, right? When you're quoting these things, we've seen this with heavies, right? Fuel surcharges. A customer will ask you, okay, I'd like to get a unit towed. What's it going to cost? And you give them your rate plus set percentage fuel surcharge. Well, a lot of times the customer doesn't want to hear that. They don't want to do the math. Tell me what it's going to cost me. Okay, let's say it's, I don't know, $150 an hour plus 10% fuel surcharge. Tell them it's $165 an hour. And that includes fuel surcharge. So that's what it is. 10% of 150 would be $15.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We could do the same thing with it. You could go, if your rate is normally $50, you can add the 3%. So it's 51, I'm going to do bad math here, but 51.50. Yeah, 51.50 sounds right. If you pay by cash, it would be $50. Yeah, problem solved. Offer them a discount. It doesn't affect you. If they decide, hey, I'd rather pay cash and save the extra buck, cool. It doesn't hurt you now. You're not paying those credit card processing fees, right? There's got to be a way to it, because as a consumer, you hate to see it on your bill. I hate the added. Niagara Falls is terrible for that. If you have ever gone out to Niagara Falls, they have this, I'm going to call it like a hospitality tax.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been out there? Have you ever seen this tax? Have you ever been to Niagara Falls?
Yeah, they throw the extra tourism tax on. Then
it's
you
like
actually
5 or 7%. It's a decent amount. And if
you say something, they'll take it off normally.
Yeah, they have to. Apparently, they have to take it off if you ask them to remove it.
Yeah.
But they do, and I hate that stuff. I hate it with a passion. So, but at the same time, why should businesses, Ontario just mandated that towing companies have to accept multiple forms of payment, including credit card, debit card. I think they worded it as common types of payment or major. I can't remember how they worded it. Pretty much putting us in a spot that we need to accept credit cards, meaning that we need to accept this 3% rate. Mm-hmm. So now that we have the opportunity to pass it on to our customers, why wouldn't we?
Yeah, like we've seen this a lot with fuel surcharges, and I'm sure in the last year, a lot of companies that have never done a fuel surcharge before has either put some thought into it or has implemented one. And I know in my company that I work, we implemented one, and I know when we get calls in from insurance companies, oh, well, we won't pay the fuel surcharge, but we'll give you like an extra day storage, even if that's even more, because in their policy, they're not allowed to pay an extra percentage fee on top of the bill. Right.
I love insurance companies for that.
So, and plus, so you think looking at the bill, you got, let's say $100 for towing, $50 for recovery. These are just odd numbers, and another $50 for dollies. So we've got a $200 bill, right? Yep. And now you've got a 10% fuel surcharge, and now you got another 3% HST tax or Visa tax or whatever.
Credit card processing fee.
Yeah. Plus, then you got your HST on the bottom. So now whoever's writing the bill's got to do 3 separate percentages. What order do they do them in? Because it's going to be a learning curve for everyone adding these in. Because I know when we implemented the fuel surcharge, it's like, okay, well, do you charge that separately or do you charge that together and then tax everything? Well, now you've got 2 of those. Do you do those separately and then not charge HST on top of that, or do you just add it all onto the bill and then charge HST after everything's all said and done? And it's also going to fill out your bill a lot more. I know that might be a good thing or a bad thing. I know we always have to break down our work, but depending on how your bills are laid out, you might not have 2 or 3 extra slots at the bottom of that bill to start writing out fuel surcharge and in the 3% credit card surcharge as well. I think, in my eyes, bump up your rates just the tiniest little bit more. Put an extra $3 or $5 just to round it up in your hookup fee. And regardless if they pay credit card or cash, everyone in the company is making a little bit more. And I think that's going to be okay because the driver's still going to be making commission if they're being paid commission off the extra $5, and not everyone's going to be paying with card. So you as a business owner is still going to be making enough money to cover that with an extra $5 on top of your hookup fee or whatever.
And
I
inflation is
think it's
right.
going to work out
Inflation
in
is
the long.
everywhere. Inflation is everywhere right now too.
Yeah.
So consumers, like I said, we've talked about this before, where this seems to be the one time where you are able to actually, with the price of fuel as high as it is, with all that, you are able to increase your cost a little bit easier without getting the kickback we would normally get. That being said, you're right. You got to watch how you do it, and you don't take advantage of the market by any means. But you know what I mean? Make sure that your costs are covered, and you're right. You can throw it in as different ways. But another simple way is get rid of your stupid paper invoicing. Go digital, my friend.
Yeah.
There are sources out there.
Hmm.
Pointing to this wonderful mug given us to non-sponsored at this point by the wonderful people at TowSoft. I mean, man, you want to talk about once you set it up on what, like how the taxes have to be included, like a credit card processing fee would be taken off after the taxes, only because the credit card processing fee is charged at the amount of
The total.
Not the subtotal. It's of the amount that you process. And once you set that in, and once you get that in, you can click it. When you click light duty tow, click, bang, there it is. It's already on there.
Yeah.
When you add a service, click, boom, price is already set. Whatever you set your price at, bam, it's there. If something needs to be added after tax, let's say fuel deliveries, right? Your cost of your fuel gets added after taxes because you've paid the fuel in the price of the fuel. Bam, it's already added in. Your accounting department will love you. Your customer. The only thing your customer might not like, and I haven't really received any negative from it, is they go, I always ask them, would you like a copy of the bill? Some customers are still, even if you're either your paper or digital, just go, nah, I don't need it. Okay. And some customers will be like, yeah. And I'll be like, cool. What's your email address? And I'll send you a copy of it as soon as it's done. Right? As soon as I clear that up, invoice is sent with, the agreed upon rate. If you paid, your authorization number is already in there. Get away from the paper. That argument that you have on not having enough room on your lines to charge more things, that is like saying I am not going to charge an extra service because I ran out of lines on my invoice.
Like I offer people the option for when we scan our bill and the credit receipt, because that's the other thing, is not all companies take payment right then and there. Is it a bad practice? Sure. And it's an old school thing. You write down the credit card number, you take a carbon copy, and you run it once you get back to the shop where the machine is. Is that a dying thing? Yes, it is. But it's still in the industry, right?
You are aware that you pay higher processing fees when you do that, right?
Really?
I don't know if you're aware of this. Yes, most payment processing companies will charge more if the physical card isn't present to the machine. And I'm not sure if it's the liability of chargebacks, if that's how they kind of want to play that, because it is much easier to approve a false charge if the card physically wasn't inserted, tapped, whatever the payment style is.
Yep.
It is actually, they normally charge a higher percentage when you manually go punch in a card to a machine compared to. So if you are a company that is doing that a lot, like your company, maybe it may be worth looking into what that percentage difference is compared to what it would be to have portable terminals in the trucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people, back to the bill thing, a lot of people will say, I say to them, do you want us to email you a copy as well? You'll get the scan with the actual invoice that I'm giving you and your credit card receipt as well. And they're like, well, if you're giving me a hard copy, I don't really need that. Or sure, I'll take that. And the only other thing where people ask if they want a hard copy version of this bill, and like, if you are completely digital and someone says, I'm adamant on getting a hard copy, which I don't think too many people are, but for some different businesses, they might need hard copies to put it in a folder and forget about for 6 years. Who knows?
Yeah, print it off at your own shop.
Yeah. But are we going to become like officers with little ticket machines? And here you go.
I email it to you. If you're that adamant that you don't have a printer, you have no way of getting access to this, cool. Swing by my shop anytime you want. We'll reprint you a copy. Right? It's in your email. I mean, you can forward it off. Your accountant has a printer. You know what I'm saying? So like anyone that a lot of times, for the most part, the people that are keeping these invoices are people that are using it for business expenses. I don't know too many people who have a business that don't have a printer. I have one. I don't use it. It's not plugged in right now because I do a lot of my filing all digitally, but they have a printer, right? The Joe that just got his 92 Accord towed and wants to keep it with the rest of his invoices for all the repairs and everything that he had. Okay, he might not have a printer. Well, so here's the invoice, Joe. Like I said, if you're that adamant that you need one, by all means, I'm not saying you can't have one. My office is open Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Swing on by and I'll print you one off. And you know what? Unlike the credit card surcharge fee, I won't charge you for the paper. I mean, Tim Hortons can charge for an extra cup. I should be able to charge for a reprint of an invoice. But for the few times that it happens, I don't think I'm going to pass that cost on to the customer.
It costs you 5 cents to get a paper copy of the bill. Can I put that on credit? Well, that's going to be a $4 service charge.
I want to know what the minimum somebody has paid with a credit card.
And I want a paper copy of that transaction too.
I want to know what the minimum somebody has paid on a credit card. Like at a towing company, there's got to be like, I can't see it because what towing service is under $20?
Yeah,
like there shouldn't be a $20 charge. Nothing should be as low as that. But I'm just wondering, like, what is?
Well, you can order a coffee from like Timmy's or any other thing for like $2 on your credit card, especially when you're ordering through the app.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I mean, more in the towing industry. Like, who's been like, I'm going to pay $595 of this cash, but that's all the cash I have, so I'll pay the extra $2 via Visa or something or MasterCard, right?
I've seen stuff like that happen.
Oh, I've seen people split bills all the time, right? Where it's like, ooh, I only have $200 on my debit. I'll pay this cash, this credit, this debit. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Hey, money is money.
But yeah, as for if you have the opportunity to actually put the card in the machine, it is always to your best interest. Check with your POS provider, point of sale. You mixed that
I
one
was
up.
thinking the other thing.
I know you were. Check with your point of sale provider. They will give you the list of the breakouts, and sometimes you will see that you can save a little bit more money by having the terminal with you. But again, normally those terminals come with a monthly fee and everything else.
And there's a lot of apps you can get too for your phone. I know the company that we worked at together, we had an actual app that we had on our phone that we could take payment and send emails directly to the consumer there.
I still use that. I still use something very similar where I can manually punch it in with the invoice number, with their email and everything, and can send it that way. Again, the downside is the higher processing fees because it's not a physical card present, and the ability for chargebacks.
Yeah. And you're paying for additional service through that company already.
Now, a lot of times that's provided through your point of sale vendor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Usually, like, ours is through the same vendor that we do all of our regular transactions. But, you know, we're seeing this all the time. You know, if you haven't been on a towing group in Facebook, it's not hard to find, especially with these roadsides where they're, you know what I mean? They're taking credit cards over the phone and then they're charging back. back. How do you deal with chargebacks? You have the credit card and you put it in the machine. That's how you deal with it, right? We have a general rule where a invoice over a set amount. So let's say an invoice over $500, $300, whatever you want to set it as. For a customer that we have never dealt with before, right? If we have a rapport with this customer, we might be willing to make the exception because we've had, you know, multiple encounters with them, whatever the case may be. But once it's over a set amount with a customer we've never dealt with, the card has to be physically present. And what is that going to do? That is going to solve a lot of problems with these chargebacks. The guys in the States dealing with the roadsides, I know that's a whole different story because I doubt somebody from one of these roadsides is going to come to your shop every time with a credit card and pay you. I get it. How else do you do it other than take a credit card over the phone? Right? You know, it's credit card has made things a lot easier too, right? We talk about GOAs, we talk about all that kind of stuff. You advise your customer ahead of time, you know, this is my rate, and you show up and the customer's gone and you have their credit card on file. Now, good luck, 'cause you're probably going to get a charge back on it, but you have the ability to at least make the initial transaction. Right? You get there and the guy says, I'm paying cash. You get there and 2:00 in the morning, buddy's gone, and you call him up, you ain't collecting shit. Like, there is no way that guy is going to, out of the goodness of his heart, just show up. Rarely will that guy just show up at your shop the next day and pay you a percentage as a GOA fee or whatever it is that you may have, you know, whatever you've
I've had that happen a couple times.
Where they GOA'd and they came and paid you?
Yeah.
Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah.
How many times in the 6-7 years you've been towing?
Like 4.
Okay. How many GOAs have you actually attended for
Too
retail
many
customers?
to count.
Yeah.
Too many
So
to count.
although it's impressive because I don't think I ever have. I think I had a customer that wanted to one time. We had a customer that actually messaged us through social media and was adamant that she wanted to pay. She felt bad, whatever happened. I don't remember the exact specifics of the situation. And we pretty much told her, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That is one of my encounters I've had, but one of the few. I've had many more where you show up, you call a guy, either they don't answer their phone. Sorry, I don't need your services anymore. Could have called us. Any of these things, right? That, so it does happen.
But in the world of these credit card transactions, especially for like roadsides, like I was dispatching, I won't tell you when, but I was dispatching. I got a call from a U.S. roadside, very pleasant to deal with. They wanted me to change a tire on a Ram 3500 dually. I was like,
Okay.
I'm sorry, we don't change tires on 8 bolts or more, just as a common rule, especially since I've never dealt with you before. But I can tow it for you. So if you can't find anyone to change said tire, give me a call back. I'll tow it wherever you need. The lady on the phone calls me back about 30 minutes later. Okay, I'll tow it here. Blah, blah, blah. What's your rate? I got her the quote all made up. She was like, okay, let me put that in American dollars and I'll send you over an email with the payment and credit card information. Cool. Went, did the service. Very wonderful lady. And I came back and I wrote up the bill and I tried to charge it and it declined. Now, to be fair, this roadside, awesome to deal with. I called them back up and I was like, hey, this is what happened. Very quick. I was on hold maybe 5 minutes while they were sorting everything out. They're like, sorry, it got put in a US account. We'll switch it over to a Canadian account. So when you enter in the Canadian dollars, it'll just go through. I did it again. They stayed on the phone with me while I was entering it. Went through, bada bing, bada boom. Perfect. And I don't really want to say the roadside company name because we might actually be getting company like a contract with them in the future because they were upfront and they're like, if you want to come become a contractor with us, we'll pay your own set rate. If you need to raise your rate, just give us a call, let us know, and we'll raise your rate.
They always sound good at the beginning.
Yeah, but it's also a very unique roadside. It's for a specific truck and trailer and livestock thing. And
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Never heard of them. Pass me on their information. I'd love to sign up with them.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Maybe I feel like all these roadsides start off like that, right? Oh, look at these great rates. We'll give you guys whatever you want. Yeah, you just tell us. And then they run that model for 3 years and like, holy crap, we're not making money.
Yeah.
And they come back and they turn into every other roadside that is available out there going, it's about our margins, not the towing margins and so on and so forth. So, hey, maybe you found the one diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
I hope you did.
Yeah.
I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, and I can't throw very far. So, no, hopefully it works out and everything like that. And yeah, if they're willing to pay by the credit card, yeah, because I remember we did one for a roadside. I don't know if you remember it. This roadside has a Canadian sister company. And it's not the 3-letter one.
It's another 3-letter one.
No, it's actually not 3 letters.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, they have a Canadian sister company, but we didn't realize when we took the call that it was actually, let's call it America Roadside, instead of Canada Roadside. And so they called us up and they gave us a PO and everything was good. We did the service. We submitted the bill to Canada Roadside.
Yeah.
Well, they go, well, that's not our PO. I was like, yeah, but that's your company, just the sister. We won't approve that PO. So then we call USA Roadside or American Roadside. Yeah. And they go, yeah, no, we that's not like you got to deal with Canada Roadside because you have a contract with them. I'm like, yes, but they won't approve your PO. Anyways, moral of the story, I'm pretty sure we ate the bill on that one.
Wow.
And a week later, America Roadside called and guess what we said? Cool. You want it? Yeah. Call Canada Roadside. Tell them to dispatch us.
Yeah.
And guess what? Well, we can't do that. Well, then your customer is going to sit there. By the way, what's the customer's name and phone number? Hey, customer, you're going to be a while. If you want, we can tow you for said rates and you can get reimbursed from your roadside because you know what I mean? Sometimes that's honestly your best thing to do is take the call, reach out to the customer. So, hey, these are our rates. It's going to be a while, whatever it is, whatever's going on. I mean, you can't steal from the roadside.
Don't promise them that they'll get reimbursed by the roadside company.
No,
either.
you can try.
Yeah.
I do that with, roadside customers all the time where they'll call you, I'd like to use my roadside membership, please. And I'm like, cool. I'm not the roadside company. I'm the towing company.
Yeah.
So if you would like to use your roadside, completely in your rights, we are one of the contractors in the area.
Yeah.
You call your roadside and you set that up. And once we receive authorization, we will send out a truck. If that isn't convenient enough for you or fast enough, for whatever reason you don't want to do it, we will absolutely send our next available truck to you. But you are going to pay. This is going to be the price, and you can submit your bill to your roadside and for reimbursement.
Yeah.
Will they reimburse it? I don't know. Not you give them that fair warning, but at the same time, and a lot of customers will just pay it out and go for reimbursement.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the customer that, I mean, we could be talking like a $40, $50, $60 service call, and they're like, no, I want to use my roadside, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, well, my roadside said it was going to be 4 hours.
It will be now.
Price, quality, speed. You can only have two. Which ones do you want?
Yeah.
So it is.
If you're
what it
paying
is.
my rates, I'd have a truck there as soon as possible. But I'm sorry, you got put in the list with all the other roadside companies.
Exactly, right? All right. Hey, priorities, apply to different things. Priorities apply to roadside versus at home, business, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, it also, goes to who's paying the bill.
Yeah.
Right? My good paying customers are going to get my attention. My roadside customers are
You're
still
not going to get any
the best
better or
service
worse
call.
service, but they might get faster service.
They might get more of a priority. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's important to take care of. Why are police tows so expensive? Because guess what they get? Instant response.
Yeah.
And guess what comes with instant response? Higher rates. Having to drop everything to meet a 15-20 minute ETA from a police force is gonna, unless contracted at a stupidly low rate, is going to get priority, right? And is going to get a price increase that goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of showing up to police work and meeting ETAs, a good note. ETAs for police are important. If you were to call into an officer and say, my ETA is about 12 hours once I sober up, they probably aren't going to take that very well. But it would be much better than being the gentleman in the next story. So, gentleman in the next story. Tow truck gets towed after driver shows up impaired to accident in Niagara. So, member of Niagara OPP are reminding drivers to know your tow after a tow truck driver attended a collision scene and blew 4 times over the legal BAC limit. The collision happened on the QEW near Gilmore Road and involved a dark color Sprinter van. Police did not provide details about the initial collision, but they do report that after a flatbed tow truck arrived on scene, officers suspected impairment and conducted a roadside alcohol screening test on the driver. I have never shown up at an accident and an officer went, "Can I give you a roadside impairment test?"
Never.
Never. So how bad do you have to be stumbling on around? I've been half awake where I probably could have been given one just because I was half asleep and still haven't really snapped into it yet.
Yeah.
The test
Not
revealed
the winter and that cold air just, I'm awake.
Wake up. Good morning. Yeah, getting up in the winter isn't the hard time. It's going back to bed after you get woken up. It's the hard part. The test revealed that the tow driver had a BAC of 4 times over the legal limit. They were subsequently arrested and charged for impaired driving. An image showed by police, which I'll pull up now, showed where was it? Shows a bag filled with empty beer cans in the back seat of the tow truck. I mean, that is a decent size, duffel bag.
Yeah.
And I love how this looks like every tow truck. You can see the NOCO booster pack. You can see the charger for the NOCO plugged in on it.
Yeah.
You can see some reflective yellow clothing on there. It actually looks like that's actually the front seat. I don't know did they say what? I'm sure about.
I think it's a regular cab flatbed.
Well, they say they found so maybe they pulled it out front because that is the front seat. That's the glove box.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing loaded, and I can see what looks like at least 6, 7 easily. I don't see what else is stuff in there. Tall boys of Bud Light.
Yeah.
Another larger flatbed tow truck was called to scene in order to take the first truck away, as the driver's impairment charge involved a 90-day license suspension and a 7-day vehicle impound. So Buddy shows up with a tandem flatbed to tow away the 450, 550 flatbed, probably a 550 flatbed, but like, right? Like, what are you doing?
I've heard stories of the operator of said tow trucks half in the bag. So they get someone else to drive the tow truck to the scene. They get out, they run all the controls, they get the car out of the ditch, and an officer comes up to them and is like, "So why are you doing this? But why is he driving?" "Officer, I'm too drunk to drive, but he's sober, so I'm just here running the truck."
I have personally been in that situation. I have actually been in that situation. I was not slurring my words into a point that I couldn't be on scene and be, you know what I mean, professional and respectable.
Yeah.
But I definitely at one point in my career had a 2-car MVC come in. I had my guy that was on call that night, for whatever reason, only had a record available. I don't know why we probably could. They might have been both on the job. I don't remember the scenario, but he lived actually right near my house. And so he called me. "What do I do? I got this 2-car MVC." I said, "No problem. Pick me up and bring me to scene."
Yeah.
I then called a good friend of mine who had done work for us at different times and said, "Hey, I need a favor. Head to the shop, pick up this truck, and meet us here." He doesn't know jack about hooking up cars.
Yeah.
Nothing. He doesn't need to. So he shows up. I get out. My guy who gave me a ride there starts hooking up his car. I head over to my buddy. We hook up the second car. And the officer did have a chuckle. He said, "Oh, are you training? It's like 1:00 in the morning." And which was a weird time to be training, right? And I go, "Honesty?" I'm like, "Honestly, officer, I had a couple drinks tonight. I wasn't supposed to be on call. You guys called us for this. I wanted to make sure we had the trucks. I wasn't legally able to drive. So I provided a driver who was sober and legal." And the cop actually got a good kick out of that. Thought it was pretty funny. Let me go my way. I mean, that's a better option.
Yep.
Right? That is a much better option than just taking my gamble. And yes, right. I've been towed before where we showed up at the yard. I had one of our tow trucks pick me up from a night out, and he was towing me home. And we got a call that we had to go to the impound because there was a gentleman there to release a vehicle or get some belongings out. And I showed up, and the officer recognized my vehicle on the back, and he goes, "Oh, your truck broke down?" And I'm like, "No, I was out drinking, and this is a safer option to get home." And you can still. I feel like this 4 times the legal limit is what makes this crazy.
Yeah.
Because like I could see a guy and I know where we are zero tolerance in Ontario, and I believe in all of Canada. I could be mistaken on the Canada part. Ontario, we are zero tolerance. Yeah. I could see a guy taking a flyer on a beer or two in. Yeah. Going, "I'm gonna try it." Yeah. Emergency, whatever the case is. I'm not condoning it. Yeah. But I'm saying I could see a guy taking a flyer. To be 4 times the legal limit.
With the evidence in your commercial vehicle. With the cans sitting there.
Yeah. And it's one thing to go 4 times the legal limit. Your dumbass shouldn't be driving. But to respond to a call where the police are going to be present, I feel like it doesn't happen when you're 1 time the legal limit, 2 times the legal limit. That is the only stupidity that only comes out when you are 4 times the legal limit.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope they check the path he took. So I'm sure this guy sideswiped something on the way there. I mean, you have to, and I've seen stories of that before, right? Where there's people who drink and to the point you can call it a problem. I don't, you know what I mean? It's none of my business what their problems are. But that can be 4 times the legal limit or twice the legal limit and still be coherent, and
they drive better like that than they do sober for some strange, weird reason.
So when they're sober, they're in withdrawals. So I'm like, the only way that you can be 4 times the legal limit, in my opinion, and show up to the scene and be able to have gotten there and, you know what I mean, be coherent, is obviously you have a problem. So obviously, I'm guessing this guy has some sort of problem. If you do, hopefully you get help for it. I mean, the company is getting stuck with a 7-day impound. I mean, you lose your job for that, right?
Yep. I'm the type of person where I won't even drive my own personal if I've had a drink.
Oh, I know.
Because
He
like
is the type of guy that will not drive if he's had one beer, which I respect. I have no
and the
qualms
reason
about that.
being is
That is
I
great.
live out in the middle of nowhere. And if I, for whatever reason, lose my license, I'm not just losing my job. I am losing all my ability to do anything.
Right.
To go grocery shopping, it's an hour walk one way. And I'm not a walker. Okay.
There's services for that now. They can deliver. But no, I know. And like I said, I respect the decision out of that. I think that is, there's a reason that there is legal limits. And even that in Ontario, they've dropped them down, right? You got the 0.03, 0.05, 0.08. If you don't know what I'm referring to, if you blow over a 0.03 to 0.05, you get a warn.
Yeah.
And a 24-hour, I want to say, suspension, meaning you just can't drive for 24 hours.
Yeah.
If you get a 0.05 to a 0.08, you get a 3-day warn, a 72-hour warn. No vehicle impoundment, none of that. You just can't drive. And your license is not, it's suspended, but not suspended.
Yeah. Yeah. You keep your actual physical card. They're not taking that away with them like they would do on a 7-day impound.
Absolutely. I think it still affects your insurance, though. The 3-day warrants, I think, still show up as a flag. I think
Really?
your insurance. Yeah. So the problem is that as much as I respect that decision, when we were at the tow show, we decided to go out one night for drinks. G was great. He had drinks. He was a blast. I actually much prefer him after a couple drinks than I do when we do the show weekly. The problem is we had his pickup truck, and he had to allow his girlfriend, who stayed sober, to drive. I would have rather let him drive drunk. That's a joke, but the moaning I had to let, honey, too fast. It's 30 on an off ramp. G, settle down. You take well, give that guy space. We're 10 car lengths behind that guy.
It wasn't that bad, but to be fair, in my defense, as we were pulling out of the parking lot, I was like, "Make sure to unfold your mirrors." And she says, "I don't need those."
Yeah,
and proceeded to drive down the road with the mirrors folded in on my pickup.
That is true. That is true. That was the best comment from the night. We're pulling out. Don't forget on the button, it unfolds the mirrors. I don't use mirrors. Wait, what?
And then she says, "Oh, you don't have the little light in your mirrors to let you know when someone's in your blind spot?" No. I need to look? Yes.
I mean, it was a riot. I was encouraging her. I was like, bet you can't take this ramp at 90. I was having a blast with it. I'm pretty sure G grew like 4 gray hairs in that drive, that 20-minute drive back to the hotel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as much as I respect your decision to have a zero tolerance when it comes to your personal life, it also made for one of the, I guess, more entertaining rides I've had in a long time. So for that, I thank you.
Yeah.
So let's have a little fun before we go. I'm going to let you dictate what is happening in this video, but we found this wonderful video over in social media, which makes for a great time. And yeah, this guy's really trying to load something he probably shouldn't be.
So we got a C-Class RV halfway up the deck on a regular cab tow truck, and there is another regular cab wrecker with an auto loader wheel lift picking up the back end of this RV, which looks to be probably like a toy hauler or something because there's nothing on the back. So it's trying to pick up the back end of this RV, which is overhanging on the flatbed, and the flatbed is trying to tilt at the same time. So obviously the flatbed doesn't have enough power to tilt with all this weight. So he called in for another truck to pick up and support some of the weight on the back end of this flatbed.
I realize he's not actually using his wheel lift at the beginning.
Yep. And moment of failure right there. The wrecker put too much weight far out on his autoloader and snapped his autoloader off the stinger.
You think it snapped? Oh, he didn't snap the autoloader off.
Look how much it's bent.
Yeah, it's hard to tell whenever he's reloading it. I don't think he snapped it off. I think it slipped off the hitch. He was lifting it by the hitch of the back of it. But see, now he's got his wheel lift down.
Yeah, now the flatbed.
Now this guy in the F750 or whatever, I'm guessing that is. Yeah, no, his autoloader does look kind of fucked up. Like even as he's holding it up, something doesn't look right. No. I mean, that thing is, first of all, the shortest wheelbase. I don't know where these guys are that are using these trucks, but it is, and then when he drops it, that 750 does, like, first of all, the caption on the video, which was great, was that it don't fit, bro. Like, there's so many things wrong. Yeah, he's lifting it with one half of his T-bar.
Yeah.
There's so many things wrong with this video. We've talked about this, we've all done sketchy shit. He's got the ramps out because he needed the blocks of wood as ramps so that the hitch didn't drag while he got those wheels on.
And they're on by like an inch.
Oh yeah, they're on. That's it. They're just
it looks like it's a 21-foot long bed and the wheelbase is 21 and a half.
Yeah, exactly. He's got half the tread on the bed, the other 3/4 of the tires hanging off. He might have. It actually did look like it was broken before they panned back. But I mean, my other question comes into, pretty sure you're over height.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heights are where this is out of. I can't see a plate or any. Oh, look how far out that bed was when he just tilted it. Like,
no, that was him putting his wheel lift down.
Bring it in.
That was him putting his wheel lift down to put the front end back.
He should have done in the first place.
Yeah.
Now he's like, let's make sure it don't fall off. He might have actually snapped his wheel lift. You might be right.
I think he snapped his wheel lift.
I think he broke something.
Definitely broke something.
Yeah, it's for sure. Definitely broke something. But it's like, look at the height on that thing. I don't know about where this guy is, but 13.6 is legal without permit where I am.
Yeah.
None
of this would have happened if you had a 4-door wrecker or even a tunnel box put on that wrecker, just so you had enough weight to actually pick up that front end of the RV in the first place instead of having to put it on a bed.
Yeah, that little truck that he had, I don't think was much bigger than the 350. I wouldn't be putting that on the 350.
Yeah, but if you had a bigger truck, like
not
4-door.
Look at the granny's attic thing overhanging, all that weight's on the front axle. I don't know, man. I would, if you're talking like a 550 extended, you could probably push something like that. But why it's going on this bed? Hey, maybe it was a rear wheel seized. I don't know. But if you're gonna do things like that, have some common sense. Right? If you don't have the equipment to do something, it's okay. Yeah. It is okay.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, like purchase a new wheel lift for the truck that wasn't even towing the disabled vehicle.
Probably, this is the same guy that's going to post in 3 weeks on social media. You guys ever see a frame break like this? Truck's never been overloaded. It's like, Jesus Christ, guys. Like, I'm not one to criticize a tower for something they're doing, but come on.
Yeah.
Do better.
It's like with NRC and Rika beds, you have to make that foot with your wheel lift every time you use the bed. Where most of the Miller equipment, they've got that foot at the back. That's not your wheel lift. And when you tilt your bed down, that sits on the ground.
Yeah, it's an adjustable thing. That thing's stupid.
So that holds extra weight. So if you're using an NRC and a Rika bed and you don't put your wheel lift down and you're loading the capacity of what that bed unit can actually handle, bad things can happen. And that's solely operator error because you're not supporting any of that weight. Yeah, this is not one of those situations.
We do that all the time. Anytime we do a heavy load, right? You put your wheel lift down instead of tilting your bed to get it to float a bit so you can start bringing it in. You use your wheel lift, plant it down, and then you can tilt a little bit. The pressure's off. You start sliding your bed and you settle everything down. Yeah, it's a stability off the back. Those little foot ones, though, I just hate them.
Yeah,
I just hate them because you just can't do angles and play with things the way that you could. I'd rather, when I need it, use it, not have it there every time like a rookie truck. So that being said, that is all the time I believe we have for this week, G. So I want to thank everyone for listening once again this week. Thank you for your patience and with my time off. Thank you, G, for coming together and putting together such a great episode for us and putting together once again another great episode this week. We could not, and I could not do this without you. I know I don't tell you enough. Thanks. I berate you more than I compliment you, but I couldn't do this without you.
I didn't even think you liked me at this point.
I kind of don't. But
back to normal we go.
And we're 62 episodes in, and I think it would really mess up the flow if I got a new co-host. So I would have had to make that episode about episode 30. Made that call. So you made the cut. Welcome to the team, kid.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for coming. Take care.
Toodles. Really?
What?
You couldn't just end it on a high note for me.
Nah,
You
fuck
had to-
that. It was
You
fun.
had to bury me in a hole again.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks,
People would
man.
be confused if I didn't.
Thanks, man.
They would be like, oh my God, is he dying? I know he got sick, but is he dying?